Mousesports as we just get things underway with our first map here. I'm going to be looking at, like I said, that anchor play, because Oregon, a lot of times, your roamers are going to be a little bit tighter to the site to assist your anchor players. It's not going to be as loose and disconnected a roam as on a map, say Bank, which is up next.
Well, the thing is, we do see people try to force out roamers on this map, but it so often just does not work. It's such a hard site to roam on. It's not, sorry, not site, but just map in general. You know, when you do, it's predictable, and you're likely to be shut down pretty easily. But here we go, ban phase. Mouse first, that will take out Line, and then Cloud9 will ban Ying.
Not a surprise there to see the Ying go out. It's one of Vandal's strongest operators, and I mean, a lot of teams will ban Ying no matter what, just because of the way she plays.
Almost want to say that we might see a Vigil ban, but no, another roamer. It's going to be Pulse who will be taken down. And that makes a lot of sense. Pulse on Oregon is one of the most efficient roamers. Usually, you know, Pulse fills an interesting role as an operator. A lot of the time, he'll be used as an anchor. Other times, he'll be used as a kind of a solo roamer because he can gather that information. On Oregon, he can do a bit of both. If you're defending the basement, then he can anchor inside of the laundry closet and call out the push down the main stairs. If you're defending top floor, then he can roam in the same area downstairs and gather information for himself to find the right situation to create a flank. But he is no longer available, and the final ban will be Maestro.
Maestro's a smart ban against C9. That should have been Mouse's ban, as they got the last offensive ban there. Maestro being run quite a lot, especially by Goddess.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's very powerful on this map. And the Pulse ban is also going to hurt C9 to a certain extent, because you know Foxay loves to run that Pulse for his team.
Yeah.
Now, they might have a different look on Oregon because they're the ones who banned it, but this is an operator that is played quite extensively by both teams, both Beastly as well as Fox.
Interesting confusion here from Cloud9 on that 6th pick. You can see the Frost being picked and then 6 picked into a Valkyrie for Mouse. That's something we've seen a lot of recently, actually. It's the reason, of course, is you can make it so your opponents don't know that there's going to be cameras, and so they don't 6 pick into an IQ. And on top of that, you can force them to look underneath all the windows they vault through the round. It's actually a pretty nasty trick, and it can get you a little bit of a mental edge. It's a small thing, but it's basically free, so why not do it?
Yeah, Valkyrie is an operator who sees a lot of play on every single map. I mean, it's not really a surprise. She inhabits a similar role to Pulse. They're very different operators, but a lot of teams will play them similarly.
Yeah, I mean, information plus C4, right? That's really the name of the game with both operators. So there's definitely a lot of options there. You know, it's funny, we have Hyper playing here on Mouse, and we have Hyper, the team, playing later today.
Yeah, they'll be going up against Rogue in our second match of the day.
So, to start things off here, we are seeing Jackal brought, Jackal, an operator that's seeing actually a lot more play recently. He's fills an interesting spot in the meta. One thing to consider about Jackal is he's actually one of the very few attackers that have soft destruction and smoke. His secondary shotgun is not perfect for soft destruction, but it does do quite a lot. And so as a single operator, you couple that with decent armaments and the versatility that his gadget brings to the table, and he is a very good solo op for any kind of action, whether it be roam clearing or just doing your own thing apart from the rest of the team. And then when it comes to the actual push, he can contribute with the smoke. So it's, you know, again, very versatile operator. We've been seeing him played a lot more. Cloud9 are going to bring him. Mousesports, on the other hand, heavy roam downstairs.
They've already managed to open up some of that closet wall, so interesting there.
Yeah.
A lot of teams will invest a couple bodies downstairs, but find themselves in positions where they can't get back to site fast enough to help.
You can see that Goddess is going to get the very first kill through the holes that she opened up earlier. Long angle into the dorms, and look at how many roamers there are downstairs right now. Mouse are going to start moving people upstairs, and they will take out Mark, who's attempting to push in. Perfect position here from Foxay, and he's going to take out Vandal from behind right after Vandal gets retro on the main window, though. Hyper also takes out Goddess, so Cloud9 now at the disadvantage, but they also have site control well in hand. Foxay just needs to get the diffuser over to him. Unfortunately, the player who was carrying that diffuser was eliminated just a few moments prior.
That's a big blunder. You know, you've got the Ash downstairs of Laxing just taking out England as he tries to do some remodeling to help, but in a 2v2, you're going to have to fetch that diffuser. Foxay was in sight for about 25 seconds with no presence whatsoever from Mouz. Just a shame he didn't have that diffuser.
He's going to finally pick it up because no one from Mouz is seemingly aware that they had the diffuser down, and he will start planting inside of the dorms. Laxing unaware of his defender counterpart right in front of him, and Vertical will land the shot. Hyper as well. Foxay goes down, and Mousesports will take the first round.
A good recovery there from Mouz. Laxing, I don't think it anticipated that there would still be yet another member of Mouz who was on a deep roam, and that was Vertical, who was playing at the bottom of the white stairs there. Just
see, and that's absolutely fair. I got to be honest. There were too many roamers from Mouz in that round. They had 3 to 4 throughout the round underneath.
I mean, it was all held together by Hyper playing on that Valkyrie, right? He and the Clash, I think, were the only 2 members of the team that were actually tasked with being on site. And the biggest problem there was you have Vandal and Hyper doing all that work. If C9 can't get to the site in time and get the plant down, then Mouz can just keep rotating, and that's what we saw. You know, Vertical was allowed to just run freely without being checked. What ends up happening? Yeah. He catches Laxing as Laxing is trying to get back to the site to help Foxay plant.
It is truly unfortunate. So, good job to Mouz that they managed to make that situation work in their advantage. Though I got to be honest, there were also just a lot of really small mistakes being made by Cloud9. For most notably, of course, the diffuser being dropped outside of the master balcony. That should have been a pretty easy plant. As soon as Foxay had control of dorms, the round should have been over.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Foxay was in sight for like 20 some odd seconds, and nobody was even bothering to push him. Yeah, no, there was a good amount of control there for Cloud9, but it's all in the past now, and Mouz will be going to the basement for their next site. Dorms is locked. You're going to go downstairs to Laundry. This is probably going to favor the defenders to a certain extent, especially with Lion and Ying being taken off the board. Interestingly, that Mira was able to escape the ban phase because it was a Pulse and a Maestro who went down. We do see the Mira get banned quite a lot on Oregon, but we've also been seeing less Oregon play, or sorry, rather less Mira play on Oregon for some reason, even when not getting banned. I mean, there's a lot of teams that will say that because she's banned so consistently, that they don't always run strats around her because you expect a lot of times that you're going to be banned. They will have them. It's just I think that a lot of teams will perfect strats that don't involve her, and that's something that a couple teams have mentioned to me. And that's the thing as well. You know, when you start practicing outside of having a Mira, I think a lot of people are realizing that while Mira is a really versatile operator, she's also, well, okay, versatile is the wrong word. She's a very powerful operator, but she's the opposite of versatile. She's rigid, you know. And when you have a Mira window inside the closet, it's predictable that you would. And the one in the hallway as well, right there. And that just sets up a target, a known quantity for the attackers to try and counterplay. Once again, Foxay is just springing into action, putting a Claymore at the bottom of the laundry room stairs, and you see the Clash also playing inside a lobby. It's going to be or inside a meeting, just looking towards the door to lobby. It's going to be very important for Foxay to be able to get that because Capitau's a great counter. Yeah, Capitau, of course, with those asphyxiating bolts, will be able to kill the Clash with relative ease. Does do a little bit of damage there to Vandal, but not enough to actually secure the down or the kill. Lots of information here for Cloud9, and they are droning out this meeting hall, pretty focused on clearing it. Second firebolt. No kill, but you can see a lot of damage done to Vertical. So he will actually fall back to the site. Right call for sure. At one point, there were 3 bodies from Mouz playing inside a meeting hall. You had Hyper, Vertical, and Vandal up there. Vertical will get down and reset because their time is on the side of Mouz. This saw a pretty good angle that was opened up here inside a pantry. That was a joint effort of both Mark and Goddess to be able to get some of that open. Now, Foxay trying to take somebody out at sandbags on this rear stage. Knows that he's there, but can't get him. Yeah, some unfortunate misses there from Foxay. Hyper, really lucky in this situation to be able to still hold on to the meeting hall. Cloud9 are getting a little bit distracted here by taking this meeting hall. They've only got 45 seconds right now, and they need to make an actual push onto the site. Still have to deal with that mirror window. They don't have asphyxiating bolts, but Foxay will finally get Hyper as he, somewhat foolishly, tries to rotate into tower while prone. Well, you can see the use of Vandal's shield here just trying to slow up the attackers as much as possible, and he's done a really good job of it so far. 25 seconds of the round. That range is just grotesque on that as well. You saw how far away the Clash was to take that advantage. But execute will have to come in the final 15 seconds. Beastly positioned by the open wall, but they will miss the diffuser going down. Cloud9 manages to walk right into the site, get diffuser down. England trying to master that control of the SMG-11, but cannot through the main hatch. It's 5v2 right now for Cloud9.
Yeah, but Vertical will fight back, taking down Lax, and he's got to find at least a few more to help his teammate of Beastly as he attempts to rotate into the smaller closet. Beastly sees the angle, but cannot land enough shots to take out Foxay. Retro will finish off Vertical finally, and Foxay, holding the corner, will get the final kill. Cloud9 take their very first round.
And I mean, you got to think that this kind of setup would definitely favor the defenders, especially with how much time Mouz took away from Cloud9 instead of the meeting hall. You know, they weren't able to walk away with a kill until they got hyper in the final 50 seconds.
Yeah, I was imagining that round was going to be a pretty decisive victory for Mouz, considering how much time they managed to waste in that meeting hall. And it's a big factor that Cloud9 managed to make the comeback happen. But of course, we didn't get to see it, but we all know that what happened there was the diffuser being planted, despite all of the counterplay options that Mouz had well within hand. I mean, they had C4, you know, they had gas canisters. They could have denied that diffuse plant with relative ease. I mean, Echo's not even banned. I don't believe he was being played, but why not? You know, you're talking about a basement defense here. So there's some oversights in that last round for Mouz that resulted in the loss of their first attempt at the basement. But of course, since they did lose it, they will get to go a second time downstairs, and they have brought a good assortment of tools again. One that I have to question is Vertical on the Ela, because the way that it's working in my mind here is you've got Maestro and Pulse as the defending bands. Why not bring an Echo? Where's the Echo? It's a basement defense on Organ. That's probably one of his best, you know, use environments. So I get preference. I get the fragging power. I also get that they're trying to force Vertical to roam heavy, and he did do a decent amount of work while roaming in meeting hall last round. But you know, maybe the wrong choice considering the result we just saw.
Don't think about how viable an Echo would have been in that previous round.
Exactly.
C9 appeared to just walk down the main stairs and get a plant off. You know, as the Capitao went through the execute for the team.
You know, the funny thing is, too, that Fox had used both of his firebolts to try and get the shield, the Clash, and was unsuccessful. He did do some damage to Vertical, but quite a lot of damage to Vertical, forced the reset, but no firebolts for the mirror window, and still, despite that, just walking down the stairs using his smokes and going for the defuse plant, it worked.
And it seemed like they caught Mouz with their pants down, because Mouz, you could see it immediately scramble. It was Beastly that was playing on the mirror, just watching the hatch, and the diffuser gets planted, and there's an immediate pivot for Mouz.
Well, one thing to note is Cloud9, after taking control of the meeting hall, they only had 30 seconds left, sure, but they were using those drops so well to distract Mousesports' defense.
Yes.
Some damage done here from Retro onto Hyper. About half of the Jaeger's HP gone. Unfortunately not able to nab the kill, so Cloud9 has at least forced Mousesports a little bit further back in the meeting hall, and that is worth talking about. Looks like it's going to be another main lobby take for Cloud9. They're just clearing out barbed wire, looking for the right opportunity. This time they've been a lot more efficient in their push, and they can take their time for setting up the plant.
Yeah, so they've got time here, and I would be very, very interested to see how Mouz is able to kill as much time in comparison to last round. You know, that Clash was so vital to be able to try and just wear down the time against C9.
There could be a potential mark here, and then a spray through the breachable wall where Vandal is standing. Here it is, the mark and the teamwork from Cloud9. Vandal has been downed, but of course, it's going to need to be called out, and Laxing will go up the tower stairs. Foxay, elsewhere, did get a kill onto Hyper, so not securing him the first time, but the second time around, it managed to work. Vertical also yet again being lit up on his roam and forced back to the site and, I believe, reset.
Yeah, so not quite as successful a job as being able to kill time this time around, as the only kill that's happening is on behalf of Cloud9 to take out the two members of Mouz. They'll smoke off the bottom of the stairs and now likely smoke off the mirror. There you go. And we'll see if Goddess can get this plant down without getting hit by a C4.
Yeah. Might still be a C4 on the Bandit. They still have those gas canisters for England, and the gas canisters will start rolling out, as the smokes do as well. Well-placed smokes, but England's going to place his gas canisters as well. Goddess will be lit up on 25 HP, forced back, and finally finished off. Well done to England, denying the defuse plant with only 20 seconds. And now he's just going to need to hold onto the site without any gas canisters. You can see Foxay trying to cover. Oh, the C4 perfectly placed, and another defuse planter goes down. Foxay doesn't have time to pick up his teammate. And it's actually Zofia, so he will be able to pick himself up. England going for the rush as this clock hits 0, and oh no, and Ella Gershmat! And the defuse will be denied. Oh, Mousesports take the round. Vertical, the unsung hero.
I was very skeptical as to whether or not they would have the bandit rotate to try to get the C4 off. It did come, but it was only after England was able to use all 3 of those toxic gas canisters. So, I mean, it did end up working out in the end.
Vertical did almost nothing in that round.
Except.
And then.
Yeah, and then almost, saves the round entirely by himself.
Throws Gershmat in the right location at the right time on 0-0-0, and you can't plant the diffuser anymore. So good job to Vertical. You could see him justifying that Ella pick single-handedly.
After you had been a bit critical of it.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at it objectively, the Yokai drone, the Echo, is probably the right call in that situation. But he managed to make the Gershmats work in lieu of those Yokai drones. So props to him for that. The fairness factor, I mean, if we're going to say it, is that you cannot easily shoot a Gershmat mine as it's being thrown at you. It's a difficult thing to pull off, and shooting it before it detonates on the floor, oof. Whereas a Yokai drone, if it's not placed in a spot where you can't see it already, then the attackers are going to wait and cover for that. So, now that Mouse have successfully defended the basement, they are going to go back to the top floor. Of course, it's been 3 rounds since they defended the top floor the first, so they get to go back here, despite being successful their first go-around. So this is their preferred site, and if they manage to get this W, then they'll put themselves up 3-1. Now, the most important thing to note for me from the last time Mouse defended this site was that they were very off-site. They had about 3 to 4 roamers, give or take, through the round. And despite that, Cloud9 still struggled when they were pushing directly onto the site.
I think there was just a disconnect between the entry frags and the support for Cloud9, right? Because even with those roamers, Cloud9 had control of the site very early. And they really weren't able to capitalize on that.
It seemed almost as if the rest of Cloud9 was distracted with the roamers, despite not trying to clear them, and that's a problem. If you're not, you need to pick, man. If you're going to clear the roamers, then dedicate your team to clearing those roamers, especially considering how entrenched Mouse are downstairs, or stick somebody to hold the flank, and then everybody else focus on your push. Get the job done, whatever job it is that you're trying to get done. Just pick.
Yep. So we've seen, this is going to be a very similar push to what we had from Cloud9 last time around. They've got Retro on the Blackbeard, so I don't think he's going to try to take the direct engagement the way he did his Jackal.
And likewise for Mouse, a similar defense.
Yes, especially with the Clash, and having the Clash play up at that big window, which is probably going to be a collision course with the Blackbeard of Retro. It's also going to mean that with the Jackal gone, Cloud9 is going to rely a lot more on Foxay getting both those smokes down. In the last round, when those 2 smokes did go down from the Capitao, they were immediately countered by England very successfully.
Yeah. England, speaking of, first kill here for the round, and Goddess will go down. I think the Habana was able to open up the closet already, though, so job done. Not the worst thing in the world for Cloud9. They're still in the round very much so. Diffuser has been dropped yet again, and I'm worried a little bit because it seems like they're forgetting about it. Retro, a nice flick onto Vertical, who thought he had the upper hand there, but will in fact be eliminated.
Yeah, that was a good read. And I mean, Retro's so patient on that Blackbeard. That's the way we see him used, is that he just holds those angles so well. Foxay, who's used, it looked like he was just going to try to use an asphyxiating bolt, almost ends up dying because of it. Takes some damage from the gas canister as well as from the shots of England, but England will be able to get away without losing that fight.
Might have been able to do more damage with the bolt other than the gun. It was a bad push there from Foxay, but he could still recover from it. A nice angle being used from Beastly to finally finish off the Capitao, but as he goes for Mark, he will be shut down. Laxing there to support his teammate. Mark gets a double kill, and the last defender is Vandal, but he's on the shield. This is not an optimal situation. He does eliminate Retro, but shield out, and oof, that crossfire. Cloud9 will take the round. thanks to some great positioning from Laxing.
Yeah, this is that was unfortunate for him. Now we've said many times that this is definitely a site that you are capable of defending with 1 or 2 people, but when you're a shield and all you have is that 2-burst SMG, you know, it's very difficult to hold it down. I
gotta be honest, Clash is a really powerful operator, but put into a 1vx situation, probably the worst defender to have. It's not great because you know, 1 versus 2 or anything greater, you're dealing with an easily established crossfire. You're not slowing more than 1 person at a time, and they're just going to get up close to you, hit your shield, and you're going to go down.
Yeah.
So nice and even match, as we all, I'm sure, anticipated in something like a Cloud9 Mouse meetup.
Much better coordination from C9 that time around. You know, they had the joint pushes coming from Generator on the big window with Retro, who was able to come in and, you know, he ended up dying to the clash, but I mean, it's your whole focus there as Blackbeard is to get in the building at that point to try to help the rest of your team. It ended up working out pretty well as a bait because that clash was going to have to come from an angle where C9's got coverage from both Generator and the top of White Stairs.
So, top floor yet again here from Mouz. As they could go to tower or kitchen, but of course, if you're familiar with Oregon, you would know that those sites are dreadful. We're going to see, yet again, heavy roam emphasis placed down under the site. It's just curious that Mouz continues to do this, because Cloud9 have not put any thought into the roamers downstairs. Now, you could make an argument for that actually aiding the defenders and allowing them a lot more maneuverability, and that's true. But it also means that those defenders downstairs haven't really been influencing the outcome of these rounds to any great extent. The anchors of Mouz have been, I think, the mainstay and the reason that they've been able to win that top floor defense the one time that they did, which is, of course, the very first round that we saw.
Well, Hyper ended up getting, what, 3 kills in that very first defense upstairs on dorms and did such a commendable job, right, of keeping it all in check, so.
Yeah, he was definitely the star of the show there. But we'll see what happens moving forward. Setup is, again, pretty much the same as it's always been. The difference here is the attack from Cloud9. They've chosen to actually clear from the west side, which is something they haven't really done before on a top floor attack. They've been leaving the roamers to their own sort of game downstairs, and now the focus has shifted. And I'm curious to see how it plays out for Cloud9. They have the right tools to deal with this clash. Of course, it's going to be Mark using his lifeline. He will miss 1 and effectively waste 2. But it's possible he was just trying to allow for the Excaros on the kitchen wall, trying to deny any potential bandit tricking. Other than that, though, it does mean that when he faces Vandal in the future, he will not be able to use that lifeline to force the shield aside.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I like that Cloud9 has shown a bit of versatility on how they're going to entry. You said that this is the first time they've gone for west side, and that's correct. Most of the time they've pushed in through bedroom.
Yeah.
And very quickly taken closet.
Yeah, and they're doing...
To be able to open that up, so...
They're doing the same over here. I mean, it's pretty quick west side clear right now. So spam's going through the wall here from Retro. He's just looking for those fights. Vertical going to take out Laxing, as yet again Laxing not expecting Vertical to be playing inside of that shower. That's actually the second time in a row, as I said, that Vertical's just been playing that position. I'm really surprised nobody from Cloud9 is droning it, or that Laxing isn't checking all of his corners. Yeah,
that's just a bit of sloppiness from a player who's usually so good, right? This we usually see Laxing commit very little mistakes.
But it also has to do with the droning. I mean, here you have another attack operator. That's Mark, who's going to push in with no drones, allowing for Vertical to get another kill. Vertical's going for more on the window, but he will lose to Retro, and Foxay also takes out England. So Cloud9 able to bring it back in their favor, well, at least somewhat in their favor. They only have 15 seconds to go for the plant, and 2 very lit attackers in Goddess and Retro, but the diffuser's being planted, and Beastly doesn't seem keen to deny it. It goes down, and Beastly now aware of the situation. He will actually die to Goddess, who vaults after planting. Vandal gets another kill onto Retro, but he is still very lit. The Clash will die with relative ease. If the C4 should hit, it's going to make Mousesports' job a lot easier, but Foxay will take out Vandal finally, and he's in the perfect clutch position. on that west window. Hyper seemingly aware of this, but oh, the vault into the Claymore, and he will go down. Foxay doesn't even need to use his exceptional gun skill to win the round. Cloud9 will take it.
Paul, what are you thinking trying to dive out on top of a Claymore like that? You gotta know better. So Cloud9 ended up taking dorms 2 times. They lost the first time around, and I think that was because it was a bit of an odd setup from Mouz, as you mentioned. You know, just the sheer amount of roamers was staggering. And then, you know, having the hold down of Hyper by Armory and by Master, I think that was, you know, pretty important. So, hey, and then Laundry Room was also an interesting bag, and we'll head to the second half with C9 up 3-2, and they'll go to defense. Now, this is going to be the real test to me for Mouz, is because, you know, so much of the way that Cloud9 plays revolves around that roam game, as we will say so many times, and Mouse's entry fraggers on Vertical, Hyper, and somewhat Vandal are usually so good at being able to find people. You know, their matchup, like last week in particular, comes to mind, where they were able to just jump into the fray and be able to win all their gunfights. Now, one thing that's been a bit of a problem for Mouz is they haven't been winning their gunfights really at all, on top of the strategy falling apart a number of times on this map. Yeah, and one thing you touched on there, I definitely agree with for both teams, is that they have a big emphasis on the roamers. And that worries me just ever so much, because what we just saw from Mouz in that last round was that they were roaming 3 people under kitchen, and they've done that now 3 times when they were defending the top floor. That's a forced roam game. And it did little to nothing, it seemed. The only time we had it actually influence the outcome of rounds was when individual performances would just shine through and overlap everything strategy-wise. So I'm worried that the same will happen to Cloud9. I'm hopeful at the same time, though, that they're going to be able to read the actual defense and not try to just roam for the sake of roaming, because that does not work, as is evident by the current scoreline. Now, they're going to be going to the basement first, which is actually counter to what Mouz decided to do. They went top floor 3 times and basement 2 times. And I can't disagree with this strategy. I would argue that the basement is more versatile for your roamers, because you have direct routes to retreat to the site that are less exposed. You know, if you're trying to come back up as a defender, as a roamer, then usually there's an attacker who's going to be in a position to cut you off. So we've got the roam inside of Meeting Hall, which is where Hyper's main focus is going to be. I think they've determined here that this echo could possibly be a problem, and this is Cloud9 bringing an operator that Mousesports didn't particularly see fit to use last time around. We've seen a number of times that these mute jammer strategies work out so well, especially in conjunction with an alibi. It's something that Rogue has done a number of times. Yeah. There is, of course, the we do have Vertical on the Maverick, so he can destroy the mute jammer through the drop down, but he leaves himself a little bit exposed when he goes for that, and it's something that Mouz is going to have to cover for. Currently a interesting, that's funny. He's looking to try and destroy the mute jammers, of course. And you can see he's just opening those holes for his teammate of England, and that's going to allow for the Habana Excaros to now open the drop down. It's a real pain to open up a reinforced drop down with a Maverick. Unreinforced is easy, but reinforced takes a bit. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things as well where Maverick isn't really a hard breacher in the same vein that a Thermite and a Habana is. So I think he has more in common with Thatcher to an extent. Yeah, I mean, he's very good at being able to open up holes to help get those gadgets, similar to a Twitch drone or Thatcher's EMP, as you denoted. So I would say he's a bit of a hybrid between Habana and maybe Twitch more than Thatcher. Yeah. Well, his job is done. He has successfully opened up the drop down and those holes over in the kitchen closet, allowing for a cutoff of the rotation. And he has also cast a spell of invisibility, hopefully just for us. He will get the first kill for his team, and Mark goes down, allowing for Mouz to have a small man advantage here. Apparently, this invisibility bug is not just for us, so it's very possible this might be a rehosted round. But Vertical will drop down and take out Laxing. Foxay and Goddess respond immediately, and Vandal there to push into Foxay. Goddess, though, with the shotgun, doesn't need a mirror window, has the great proximity play of this weapon, and holds her flank and lands the final shot. We'll see now as we head into the game. Score is still 3-2. Nothing changed. It's as if we're starting this half all over again. It does look like C9 is going to have to run with the same combo. That'll probably put Foxy on Alibi.
Yeah, and we have,
or
of course,
Ella, I suppose, unless he 6 picks onto it. Laundry and supply room downstairs.
Yeah, it was possibly a 6-pick situation there that we saw in the last round. Actually, so, okay, I guess they're not being forced to run the same composition. Goddess is going to pick Mute, which she did play in that last round. But 6-pick into a Mira, instead of bringing the Mute, the IQ also being brought. I think IQ was played. IQ was played. So Mouse is sticking with the same composition. Cloud9 have altered it somewhat. Well, hey, if that's allowed, I guess there you go. I figured it would be the same as it usually is, but I guess not.
It stands to reason that they should be able to change things up, though, after that entire round was played. That would be such a huge detriment to the defenders, whose setup would be completely known, right?
I mean, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with it. I wasn't sure as to the actual rules that were laid out, and I guess this is what has been called. So here we go. Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be better for Cloud9 that they have a Mira now, especially considering the mute jamming trick really only works once or twice. And then the attackers, they'll know about it, and they'll say, hey, we need to really early in the round deal with those jammers underneath the drop. And here are the tools to do so. And they have a perfect setup to deal with this problem. Of course, in the IQ and the Maverick, most specifically.
Yeah, so both teams are going to get a mulligan here and be able to try something a little different. Hyper's is going to be able to sprint all the way in, take out the cam, and get very close to lobby already.
Yeah, we were seeing this from Retro when Cloud9 were on attack. Just a very aggressive push from the west side to establish that, yes, indeed, we do have control here. It makes sense. Usually, you don't see a lot of presence on the west side from the roamers in North America. You'll see from other regions like Latin America, a little bit more presence over there, but less so. And if you do see it, it's almost always a very passive roam that will fall back immediately through this hole. In fact, through the wall that's being opened up right now by Vertical.
Yeah, and that means that Mark can't play as freely inside a meeting hall, and it'll mean that a rotate as well, leading up those attic stairs, is essentially gone from C9. They'll be too vulnerable if somebody from Mouse is stuck on that angle, just hard holding it. I
like the way that Hyper is playing in the kitchen closet. He was playing on top of the little box there, trying to use the holes that were open to cut off rotation. But he will be pushed to a different role, which is actually pushing in through the meeting hall, which is a little bit of a change. Just trying to clear out the barbed wire right now, but eventually, of course, he is going to be peeking onto the sandbags and the stage. Very dangerous play. Also focusing on taking out the yokai drones. You can see it's being called to his teammates. It's going to be a dangerous peek, though. He runs the risk of losing his life when he peeks around the corner to try and get that drone.
Yeah, I think that's why he pinged it, probably for somebody on the team to maybe be able to get that. Possibly a grenade from the sledge could be used to try to take that out.
Yeah, well, it's being called out right now. We'll see if England is able to land the shot. Seems like he's the one put in the position to do so. Slow going here for Mouse. They're just trying to clear out as much utility as they can before they go for an actual push. Goddess, of course, set up with the C4 to counter the defuse plant. Foxay with the Grzmat mines, waiting for his opportunity to do as Vertical did when the Mouse were on defense. Deny that defuse plant using a Grzmat mine. It's a hard thing to do, but you can pull it off for sure. Smokes for the cover of the defuse plant. England going to go for the inch-in strategy, and he's making it work. Beastly will get a kill into Goddess as she attempts to C4, and the defuse plant goes down. England loses a lot of HP as a result, but it's too late for really matter. Mouse now in the driver's seat. Hyper get Foxay as he attempts to push. Retro will refrag onto Beastly. But look at that, 2 players on Cloud9 still very lit up in this situation. It's not boding well. Pushing from meeting hall though, Mark, that is a great angle to play, and he will take out Hyper. You can see on the stairs, Laxing trying to do some damage to England. He will in fact down England, and Retro will secure the final kill. Vertical now the last attacker, and he will be finished off by Mark. What an excellent retake from Cloud9, and a lot of that in part due to Mark's push through the meeting hall because it was not properly isolated by Mousesports.
Yeah, overall, really well done from Cloud9 there, and just the Maverick could not be able to get back. He was, interestingly enough, as Cloud9 was disabling that diffuser, Vertical was as invisible that round as he was the previous round.
Wow. That's...
At least to stop the diffuse.
It's a low blow.
Vertical was doing his job. perfectly well.
Yeah.
He just wasn't there to stop the play down, especially when a 3v1 that's
No, but you're right.
That's really difficult for him to be able to walk away from. He missed his first couple shots on Mark playing inside a meeting hall, and I mean that falls directly on the shoulders of the rest of his team to not be able to clear out meeting hall.
Yeah, I mean he missed all of his shots onto Mark. You know, Mark was on 1 bullet's worth of HP. He would have died to anything.
And that's what I said earlier on, is that there's been a pretty a pretty glaring hole that Mouz has been trying to dig themselves out of, which is that they cannot hit those shots.
Yeah, they've been struggling.
They're losing their gunfights 1v1 in so many instances. I don't know what it is, but I mean, it doesn't help when you've got a frag-heavy team such as Mouz, who relies so much, usually on a couple players, to pull the weight for the rest of the team. You got Cloud9, who've also got very good shots. You need to be able to hit those shots in order to keep pace with your opponents. Now, Cloud9, unfortunately for them, they were not given the round previously when there was the right before the rehost, but they'll get it back anyway.
Yeah, I think rightfully so. That was a solid defense. They did not manage to deny the fuse plant, but they did a really good job of retaking post plant. So props to them for that again. A lot of it for me was Mark in meeting hall, and that all comes down to what you talked about, which is Mousesports not isolating nor clearing that meeting hall properly. Steps to the process, and they were just skipped, unfortunately, for Mouz. Now they're going to go to a top floor attack. This is their very first time attempting this, as it is also Cloud9's first time attempting to hold it. So there is room for a potential comeback. Let's say comeback. Cloud9 are only up 2 rounds right now, but it's pretty substantial actually in Rainbow Six. You know, it's odd to think about, but in some other, games such as this, I mean, the round count, you can win 2-3 and have the same impact as 1 where we have here.
Yeah, I think that this is still anybody's game. Goddess is going to take an engagement, look for a second, but be outdueled. That's a good one for Mouz to start things off. And really, I mean, you take that engagement as Ella because you know you can almost always win it with the Scorpion at such close range. But it's a big gamble.
And then when you don't.
And when you don't, I mean, you find yourself in a position where you could have essentially traded an Ella for what would be the sole main hard breacher in Hibana, though there is a Maverick on the board for Mouz. That would have been a pretty worthwhile trade, but Goddess wasn't able to land enough shots to get the kill.
I feel compelled to come back to the Echo conversation, because guess who's not banned? Echo.
We saw an Echo last round, to be fair.
Yeah, and he wasn't very useful if he was there. And Hyper's going to take out another Cloud9 defender. That's Fox that goes down. So it's looking worse and worse for the Cloud9 defense. They're playing a very open strategy here, and it just hasn't been working out great for them. In fact, it's going to continue to not work out great for them as Retro eats some bullets, trying to peek into the closet. And here comes the push from Mouz.
And I don't think they understand exactly how to deal with that. Soft wall Laxing gets one traded off by Vertical, so both teams will lose a body. But in a 2v4 here, we know they can see that the plan is going down, and Retro will have to push up. Can he do the work himself? Oh, he won't get it in time. Vertical gets 1, but 2 from C9. A 1v2, and Mark will need to clutch.
As he goes for the angle play, Mousesports playing as passively as possible. You can see Vertical is on very low HP, so they do not want to risk this at all. Vandal, as a result, playing very safe. They're going to hear this push into the main hallway, and they will adjust their barrels accordingly. But it's a fake out from Mark. He knows he doesn't have a whole lot of time, so he's just baiting for information. And Vertical will get the final kill as he pushes into the hallway. Great job to Mouz in that post plant, but more importantly, prior in the round, when pushing the site, Cloud9 playing just too aggressively. You know, way too aggressively, and past that, not only are they just trying to peek everything, but also on top of that, they've left a lot of the default angles, a lot of these walls that you would typically reinforce open. And they've opened them themselves as defenders, and that is a viable strategy. Something that I think people mistake Siege for is, defenders set up their little castle and they try to hold it as best they can, and the attackers try to pick it apart piece by piece. But that's not necessarily how it has to play out. The defenders can't just open everything up and make it a fluid, open playing field for both teams, and they can make that work. But it also is a risk. It's something that you lose layers on your defense, and when you're playing so aggressively and losing those aggressive fights, it's just not going to bode well for you.
No, and I mean, we saw the way that Mouz was struggling to try to get through that closet wall. It was totally opened up. They had to use some X-Kairos on it to try to get through it because they didn't have a buck, they didn't have a sledge. did have a Zofia, but I'd suspect at that point you're better off using those explosive grenades from her lifeline. Maybe somewhere else. You don't really need it to get that wall open. So it ended up hanging them up for about 15 to 20 seconds and had to go to some destruction with their rifles rather than their gadgets.
Yeah, but they made it work. They got in to the site, allowing for the defuse plant.
10 seconds
now,
to go.
Cloud9 going to actually choose to, instead of defending the top floor again, this is interesting, go to kitchen. Clearly, they have a lot of confidence in their kitchen setup. They've also brought a yokai, the Echo, and Goddess is still going to be playing on the Mira. So you've got a lot of good utility to counter a potential plant behind the default wall. So there's basically one place you plant on this site. One place the attackers will go, and that is behind this indestructible wall, nice in the safe corner. Now the reason the wall next to it has been opened up by the defenders is because if you take a look down over by where Laxing is playing, Laxing's position is the linchpin. That's why he's using the shotgun. He needs to stay alive in lockers as long as possible, because from here, he is the one who can deny the defuse plant when it eventually does start to happen behind that indestructible wall. So it's very important that Laxing does not die here, and that's why there's so much utility being placed in the closet, or in the in the lockers room. You got that shield, barbed wire, plenty of ADSs. And it's going to be a decent setup, I think, from Cloud9, though this strategy has so many flaws in it. You know, it's easy to cut off, and if Mousesports reads this right, it's basically their round to lose, is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, Beastie's going to start things off, finding Foxay, the Echo. That is a pretty damning first casualty for Cloud9 to lose that plant denial operator. It's going to put a lot of weight onto Retro, as the smoke is the last one up to possibly have to deal with this plant going down. But he's going to end up finding England, as the Hibana had managed to open up some of the west wall inside of the lounge area just by the one couch. So that hard breach will be gone. And of course, there's no Maverick this time around for Mouse to even possibly have somebody who could try to open up those reinforcements.
Yeah. So all the hard structure's gone. But England, I believe, did manage to open up that crouch wall, so they can still use Junk Tower as their push position into the default plant spot. They've got Vandal trying to cut off some of the rotation of Mark here from the doorway of Cafeteria. If Mark pushes up too much more, he will be exposed to the Zofia. Very dangerous, but he's aware of this. Gershmont from the lifeline going to disrupt him, and Hyper will actually get the kill because of that. Bad use of the shotgun there from Laxing. Vertical will expect that rotation. Here comes the smoke and the plant, the firebolts as well. A well-coordinated push right now from Mouse. The push into the hallway, though, from Retro will get Hyper before the round is all over. Vandal and Beastly, the final 2 kills. Mouse play that perfectly.
It was really good coverage by Mouse just to be able to do that. Like you said, they covered it perfectly. They had all their, they had all the lines of sight that they really needed in order to make sure that C9 was boxed into that kitchen and they couldn't push out.
You know, as much as I got to say that setup from Cloud9 was actually really pretty great. And I got to say props to them for that. You don't often see, so well thought out setups on offsites. It is also an offsite. And the most important thing is that you're putting yourself at a decided disadvantage when you're going to a bomb site like that, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I said it at the beginning of the round, and I'll say it again. That was Mouse's round to lose because they were attacking the offsite, and they just didn't do anything abundantly, bad, and because of that they won. It's that simple. You play it a standard attack onto that site, which is exactly what they did, and you will win 9 times out of 10. And these are the sorts of things that have been proven over a long period of time. It's the same thing as old Clubhouse before the rework. You don't roam on basement defense. People have tried and failed many times, but it's just one of those things. So, Cloud9 now going back to the basement. And this is their second time defending the basement. The first time was, of course, the only round that Cloud9 have successfully held anything on this map so far. They were up 4-2 after winning that basement defense, but they've since lost 2 rounds in a row to trying to defend the top floor in the kitchen. And now we're nice and even here at 4-4. Again, this is very much what we were all expecting in a Mouse versus Cloud9 matchup.
Especially with how it's been going the last little while between these two teams. It's not really much of a surprise here now. Just to touch on kitchen for a second. Cloud9 is a team that likes to go with the less conventional sites from time to time. I mean, look at, you mentioned Clubhouse, how you don't roam on basement. Well,
you used to not.
Well, you can now, but I mean, to bring up Clubhouse, you also don't usually play bar stock, but Cloud9 does, repeatedly, over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So because they do that, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me to see different sites trying to... I'm a bit surprised it was Kitchen. I would have suspected maybe a tower between Cloud9 and Mouse, but I mean, here you have it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen both Tower and Kitchen used as offsites on Oregon, and they have their merits. Neither is a great site, though, if we're being honest. So, the drop down not opened up, possibly due to an impact, I want to say? Yes, it was an impact from Foxay, I believe, running up the main stairs, it looked like. And he will get one set of Xkeros, so good job to Foxay pulling that off. But the drop down, of course, will be opened up eventually. It just means that England now has one less set of Xkeros charges, and thus one less thing he can open up.
This is a collision. It almost looked like there was going to be a collision course here between Hyper and the clash of Laxing, but no, he's just going to... Laxing's just going to continue to exist inside of that meeting hall and not be able to really get much with it. But a big focal point here is on Kitchen. I think that site could have very easily gone in favor of Cloud9 had if the Echo survived. Foxay was first casualty for Cloud9 in that round. He's still hanging around here. He says the smoke this time. Retro is the one on the Echo.
Yeah.
Having those two Yokai drones up, so critical. And even though Hyper does appear to be on Yokai drone duty, they haven't really been able to get any success out of it. But Mouse flirting with going for a plant at the bottom of the stairs. It did appear that England was possibly going to go for a plant, but they'll bait out the smoke. About 50 seconds left, so decent timing for Mouse as they'll lose Vandal. The Zofia, that's a lot of utility off the board, but still very easily winnable here. Mark will peek a little bit too aggressively, and Vertical will be able to take him out. Now you see at the bottom of the main stairs, there goes the plant. England on the bottom of the stairs, but he'll get hit with the Toxic Babe. Breathing in too much gas, England will have to fall off, and the Yokai still remain. So this is a last second here for Cloud9 to be able to steal this one.
You know, Hyper, unfortunately, not able to deny those Yokai drones. Retro will take down Vertical as he comes off of his drones, and Mouse so little on HP, or so low on HP and so low on time, but Hyper's managed to find his way behind the defense, and he will take out Goddess and Foxay with a beautiful pre-fire, leaving just two defenders left in play. As he goes for a diffused plant, though, whoa, the clash right in front of him, but he makes it work! What is happening, Hyper? Does Retro have any drones? Yes, he does, but somehow it drops, and it goes back up. The clutch from the Echo, and a denied clutch from Hyper despite all of his beautiful plays in the last 20 seconds of that round.
It looked like both the Yokais were up as well, which is so funny because of how much time Hyper spent trying to hunt them.
That's what I was trying to touch on before all the action started happening there. Hyper, first of all, when you're rewatching this, Hyper, fantastic attempt at a clutch there. That was the definition of a nice try, but you really slumped on the Yokai drone hunting duty. There was some serious work that needed to be done there. There was one that was very exposed for a decent chunk of time, you know, and we potentially could have seen that's been a little bit more of a focus, not necessarily just for Hyper, but maybe the rest of the team as well. But still, just did not happen, and could have, of course, you know, in retrospect, changed the outcome of the round.
And I mean, that's the type of thing that I think Cloud9 was gambling on for Kitchen as well when they were defending in there was, you know, you've got the Yokai for the last second plant denial. Unless you're very, very good at being able to play around that corner, it's kind of easy when you're playing on Kitchen to get the plant down because you're so heavily fortified with that unpenetrable wall right beside you as you're going for the plant. That's what makes Evil Eyes and Yokai drones so effective because they can go around that corner. I mean, you can arc a C4, you can throw a Toxic Babe if you're playing out of the kitchen. In particular, likely playing on a mirror window.
5 seconds to go.
But we just saw a great example of how Yokai drones staying alive and having Echo be the last man up is so crucial for a team.
And those Yokai drones were safe from just the immediate peak from Hyper. That's why he wasn't shooting the drone. It wasn't because, oh, hey, you know, he's not shooting the drone. It was because, yeah, he couldn't. But, you know, ultimately, again, that is something that needs to be taken into account for Mouse. They need to place that focus on the drone because while you can't conveniently shoot it from the bottom of the stairs, there is a way to deal with the drone and it needs to be dealt with. So, Moving on. Mousesports now, the ones who are looking to bring this to overtime. You know, I found myself just now wanting to say a tie, a draw. But no, we actually, I believe, have overtime. If I'm not mistaken.
We don't have draws.
There's no draws, guys. So they need one more round to bring it to overtime. Otherwise, Cloud9 are going to get the victory here. If they could just successfully hold this master push that's happening from Mouz.
Bank is, of course, our second map. That is Cloud9's pick. So if Cloud9 walks away with Oregon over Mouz, it doesn't obviously bode well for our mice friends here, as this is, of course, the map they're gambling on winning. No, I mean, they obviously want to win all of them, but losing your map, not exactly the best thing. Also, to go back to the Paris Major, the last time that we saw a best-of-3 series get played over quite a long period of time, the team that won the first map would almost always win the series as well, all but one time. So it'd be very difficult for Mouz to be able to buck that trend.
Yeah, it does seem to be kind of set in stone lately. We have been seeing some transitions in the meta, though, and with that, trends tend to change, but I don't know if it's been enough. Well, here comes the push in through the master closet. As you can see, Vertical just peeking wide, looking for some fights, but Cloud9 playing very passively. Goddess has been lit up at the top of the white stairs and likely still has the C4, but as soon as she peeks, she will go down with relative ease. Also has a Black Mirror still in her pocket, but going to choose not to use it. Seems like she's going downstairs to try and deny this push from below. This actually might work out great for Goddess if she times it right, but here comes the smokes from a Mouz and the push as well. BC takes out Mark. The C4 will miss from below. See another downed defender upstairs. That's Retro, and he's finished off by England. Vertical has been down as he attempted to push in to Generator. And from the top of white stairs, Hyper will eliminate Goddess. Great positioning here from Mouz, and Cloud9 have lost control of their site. Laxing and Foxay both going to have to retake from below. Foxay missing his shots, unfortunate. Just a few feet away from getting a kill there. Hyper gets Laxing, leaving Foxay in the 1 versus 5 in the post-plant scenario. This is not an easily winnable situation, and he will eat some bullets from above before trying to push his way to the main lobby stairs. He's definitely hurt here, and he will miss the flick onto the Habana, but eventually finish off England before Vandal is able to shut him down. Mouz will push us to overtime.
Of course, these teams need overtime. Of course, Cloud9 needs overtime, really, more than anything. They are very much an overtime kind of team, taking their sweet time in order to close out these matches. And now we'll see where the coin flip will land as to whether or not we'll have Cloud9 defending twice or we'll have Mouz defending twice. That'll be something interesting to watch. Now, I mean, so far we're looking at Mouz and Cloud9. 4 of the 10 rounds have gone in favor of the defense. That's 6 for the attackers. So it's kind of a wash here as to who's doing better, because there were a number of times on both attack and defense that I think that we can say quite confidently it could have gone either way.
Yeah, I'm not looking at this and thinking to myself that, hey, if one team gets defense or attack when they go on to overtime are going to struggle more or less. It's not really going to change the outcome too much, in my opinion. I'm more thinking that it's just, yeah, it's going to come down to the back and forth flow that we've been seeing, and whoever just happens to be in the driver's seat, because it's been them both swapping a lot on this road trip, and it seems like that's going to be the continued trend for all of the maps we see.
So continuing with the road trip line of thinking, we'll see which team will be able to cruise to that victory here on the first map before we head to Bank. I mean, yeah. I've liked what we've seen from. I've honestly liked what we've seen from both teams so far. Both teams have made a litany of mistakes. We've seen disjointed roams. We've seen the inability for teams to be able to entry correctly and in coordination with one another. You know, you've seen Cloud9 in particular a number of times that I recall they would end up trying to defend where one would rush in and then die, and then the next would rush in the same spot and die, and Mouz is just there to be able to greet them, and I think that's been Mouz doing it quite well, especially Hyper, who's been having a really good game, not just statistically, but also getting very valuable frags.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse.
No, I mean, there's been a lot of standout performances, yes, like Hyper. Nice try on the clutch as well from Hyper when attacking the basement previously. You know, if that had been a successful clutch, we would now see this be a Mouz map in the first one. So did not happen, but it could have. Hyper yet again, very aggressive push through the west side, already cutting off rotation from the meeting hall in the main lobby. Usually you see this done from the front door, but not so here. this is interesting. A spawn peek of sorts. I don't know if you could really call it that. From Laxing as he's playing at the top of tower. Here's the nade and will back away. That was a nicely lobbed nade from Vandal, but it did end up missing the mark.
Yeah, and then speaking of missing the mark, he'll miss it with his drone as well. A bit of a rough stretch there for him.
Yeah, some wasted utility and some wasted time.
The time is the real killer here. A minute has gone by, and I mean, first kill is going to go to Mouse's favor, though. Hyper, who's been so good so far today, will find one onto the Jaeger.
That was great coordination there from Vertical and Hyper. You saw Vertical open the hole and Hyper get the kill. I love the way that they're doing that on top of the box inside of that closet and kitchen. It means it's a lot harder to headshot the person playing through the hole. Now, Hibana Xcaros going on to the mirror window, but it will be impacted, if I'm not mistaken, by Fox. He has another impact, so he could potentially deny this once more, but it seems like he's not in the right position, and the Hibana Xcaros will actually detonate, and the mirror window is open. That was a bad call for the rotation there of Foxay, but all done now, and it's going to make the defense for Cloud9 that much more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, holding on to this site without the mirror window there is really detrimental. Now, they're acing the holes. They still have an Echo remaining. We just saw them on this site with the Echo, being able to do great amounts of work, but England is hidden amidst the shroud of smoke and will get the defuse down very successfully. It's a big miscue from Cloud9.
Yeah, the Yokai drone being placed too passively, but Cloud9 has done this retake once before, and they're going to try for it once more. You see England gets a kill and a second one as Laxing misses some important shots. Goddess also managing to get one for herself for Vertical and Vandal. Look at the final two. That push from behind from Vandal was perfectly timed. You can see just holding on to that meeting hall. That is the big thing, the big difference maker for this round to previous rounds when Mouz was attacking the basement. This time they decided to hold and clear the meeting hall. And that meant that the roamers that were trying to late flank from Cloud9 were shut down.
I mean, the bigger issue was they lost map control so early on. You know, it took a minute. I was saying, right as I was saying, oh, it took about a minute. Mark ends up getting pinched. And I mean, Mark has been so pivotal for Cloud9. Being able to exist in meeting hall, being able to play over top of the hatches, get back to site and help out. Just him being there has been able to waste so much time.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. And, I mean, I think the lack of emphasis placed on that meeting hall for Cloud9 actually really came back to bite them. Where we saw Mousesports when defending the basement, what they did is they tend to play a pretty hard hold of that meeting hall. And if Cloud9 wanted to clear it out, they really had to put a lot of work in to do that. But all said and done now, the Yokai drone placement also from the defense in the last round was just a little bit too passive. Cloud9 could have played that a little bit, you know, maybe somebody in a position to hold the pixel spot, or otherwise known as the Inshin spot, you know, the stairs. It's a very strong plant spot if you know that your teammate, your opponents are using their anti-plant conservatively.
5 seconds to insertion.
So, Mouz going back to the top floor. And the way that they've been holding this is roaming pretty heavily downstairs. They'll put 2 players usually on the anchor up in the site, one at the top of white, usually one in dorms, and all the rest of them, the other 3, will be roaming underneath the site. And it's seen mixed results for Mouz so far. They've managed to make it work the first time they tried, but the other 2 times Cloud9 were successful. So Cloud9 probably going to push us to 6-6 if that trend continues.
The attackers is continuing to stretch out, as you mentioned, exactly how many they've won. They've now won 7 of 11 or something along those lines. So, anywho, here we have C9 deciding that the west side entry is not going to be quite what it was the last time they went to that side of the map. They'll just push right into Master, get the closet open, and that'll be all of the Xcaros. For those of you that are tracking at home, Goddess will have no more hard destruction left after that. And Cloud9 will have no more hard destruction either afterwards.
Now they have control over the armory. And you see Mark just looking to drone out for information now. Usually once you get Armory, you don't really need to worry too much about your enemies, as long as there's no C4 potential from below, which is still in play for Mousesports, but it's very unlikely that it's going to happen all the way over by Master and Armory in this instance, considering it's hard to make that rotation as a defender, even underneath. Laxton gets the first kill, and ooh, look at that, onto the shield. That is not who you want to be losing early. Vertical has been successful thus far fighting Laxi in this position, though. He is actually 2 for 2, and he's going for a third try, but the optic covers Laxing, allowing for the kill, and Beastly upstairs trying to hold on the site, will get one, but does not deny the defuse plan. Hyper now the final defender, and he's going to actually trigger a Claymore, but fade away and stay alive. Goddess has been downed while fighting the Legion, and because of that, this is a 1 versus 2. So there's still potential for Hyper to clutch this out. One on the west window. Information called out. Goddess now has given the information to the rest of Cloud9. They know Hyper is pushing from Generator. Sticking or faking out the defuse disable. Laxing in the playmake position. It's going to be hard for Hyper to predict this. He's expecting someone to be low on those stairs. You can see by his aim. And he has no real option here. Waiting for the peek, and it's from the wrong angle. Laxing manages to take it, and Cloud9 will too. 6-6. We go to the final round.
Cloud9 and needing every single round in order to close out a match. Name a more iconic duo. Because it feels like it was just a couple weeks ago that we saw
Cheese and crackers.
Cheese and crackers are a pretty good duo.
No.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Throw some grapes in there with some wine.
You want to get like a charcuterie board going?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm down for that.
Yeah.
I'm down for a nice charcuterie. But, I mean, Cloud9 is really, they're really taking their time in order to close this one out. And, I mean, it's good staying power to be able to bounce back. But C9, they lost their defense downstairs on Laundry Room. They're going to go back to Laundry Room. Now, both times that they went up to the dorms when they were on defense, they lost. So this stands to reason that they would go to Laundry because it was where they won the 2 times previously.
Yeah. Cloud9 have been doing pretty well on this basement hold. Of course, they did lose it in overtime. That was actually, I think, their first loss in this basement hold. But other than that, they've had pretty decent success here. So definitely the right call for them. They have all the right tools for this hold. They brought a castle, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to go ahead and assume that they'll use the castle to try and reinforce the meeting hall entrance to make it easier to hold on to meeting hall extended in the round. Though that is a bit of a risk because it also nullifies meeting hall as you know, an asset, right? If you can't rotate out of meeting hall, then how are you supposed to affect the push in the main lobby? So of course you need an impact, or you need to prep that meeting hall castle in order for this to be a solid strategy from Cloud9. That is something you have to rely on as a defense, and it makes the strategy just a little bit more fragile. Something to consider. The rest of the setup here from Cloud9, though, very standard. You can see the full reinforcement of the meeting hall walls. They do not want to feel pressure at all from these attackers, and it looks like they're, speaking of attackers, they are going to be keen to open up the castle barricade maybe early on, possibly the meeting hall walls using the Excaros. And Mouse have been pretty good at trying to clear out that meeting hall before they even start a site push. Now, whether they've been successful or not is beside the point. They always seem to focus on it.
This has happened almost every single time from Mouse's perspective by being able to open up that one tiny hole inside of the pantry there and basically try to dare Mark to do anything about it. Mark was killed early on. He's being a bit more passive this time around, and I think that's going to add to his longevity. As you can see, we're about 20 seconds past where Mark had died previously.
Yeah. So staying alive in this round definitely going to help out a lot. It just seems like he's decided to be a little bit more passive. That was a big blunder from England. Now, granted, the peak from Foxay was obviously something that usually would not happen onto the drop-down, but you have to expect the unexpected, and that's going to put Mouse in a bit of a corner here. Losing their hard destructor means no more open mirror window. Means, you know, one man down, just in general, not ideal. It also is going to make it clearing out those ADS is a little bit more difficult. A good start here for Hyper is he's able to get one of the Yokais, but again, that protected out Yokai is going to haunt Hyper. Fox8 will get a down, but he can't possibly know about it. As Vert was going around the corner, it's unlikely that Fox is going to be able to know that he downed that player. You saw he had the impact with no point notifier. It's just, why would you waste it if you're not sure?
Yeah, and there you have it. Vert's been picked back up. Castle Barricade will go, and Mark is there. Fox8 is also available, if need be, to tag in. Mark will shred through Beastly. And there's Fox with a double kill to get Hyper and Vandal. Vert is last one alive. He's got 2 to find. A managed to take out Laxing. But you still got Fox8 playing up at the double doors of Meeting Hall. You've also only got 30 seconds left. Make that closer to 20 seconds. And Vertical will need to grab that diffuser situated inside a garage.
Almost unwinnable. He's going to open up the drop down in the main hallway. Retro will call this out from his Yokai drone, and the rotations from Cloud9 are abound. Vertical gets the mark from his teammates and gets a nice headshot onto Fox8. Goes for the second though, and Goddess is going to be prepared. Cloud9 take it 7-6 in map number 1.
It's like I said, it takes Cloud9 all the way till the end to be able to get it, but they walk away with a hard-fought victory, as it says.
So of course, that is only the first map of this best of 3. It's going to be Oregon, which was Mouse's map, if I'm not mistaken. And Bank as the second will be Cloud9, so they're going to be going to their comfort pick. And this should, I think, you know, because of that, maybe be a 2-0. Honestly, I was expecting this to go all the way.